Stephen Rowley is a writer who grew up in Maine. He is just out with his fourth novel. It's called The Celebrants, and he's with us here on 207. Thanks for coming in. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Where did you grow up, Stephen?
South Portland, Maine.
How does it feel to be back home? Because you've lived for several years, many years now, in California. So this is a trip back to where it all began. What's it feel like?
Where it all began. It's truly fantastic. I always love coming back to Maine. I'm in Southern California now. It's getting hot, so the second I step off a plane or off of a bus and get that ocean breeze and that smell of salt in the air, it always feels like home.
Down East Magazine asked you recently to name your favorite place in Maine, and you said?
The South Portland Public Library. It's the library where I learned to read, and I can able to do what I do today because I had parents who got me a public library card and encouraged me to use it. And I was that kid with that stack of books, probably, up to my eyes. But there was a children's librarian there, Mrs. Brado, who took a special interest in me, and I was off and running for a life of reading.
And it's kind of come around full circle because you did an event just last night at the South Portland Public Library.
Talk, and that was really fantastic. Talk about smells that make you feel like home. The smell of a library, come on.
You've been out promoting the book for a few weeks, and while you were out, you got the word that this book, The Celebrants, had ended up on the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
I couldn't believe it. I was someone who always dreamed of writing back from when, I was a kid in the library. And I thought perhaps it was a job that was available to you if you grew up in Manhattan or had a society name or something. But then, in the background was Stephen King, lurking here in Maine. And so, anytime my parents think I'm a big deal now, I have to remind them I'm not even the most famous writer named Stephen from Maine. But, it's just one of those dreams. It didn't happen for me for a long time. I published my first book at 45, but kept doing the work. This is my fourth time, and to have this kind of recognition now is really rewarding.
What gave you the motivation to keep going? Because you knew early on you wanted to tell stories in one medium or another, and to not publish your first book until you're 45 means you had a pretty long slog.
There was a long stretch in there where I think it felt like, at times that I was the only one who hadn't given up on me, Friends were like, are you sure? Maybe not law school or something? Come on, and it doesn't happen for everyone. But I've got those few books in a drawer. You write them to learn how to write them. They won't ever be published, and probably for good reason. But I kept at it. I don't know. There was a determination in me. And I'm thrilled that publishing is one of the businesses that value age and life experience. I can think of two big publishing success stories in the last 10 years. Bonnie Garmus in Lessons in Chemistry, Delia Owens, Where the Crawdads Sing, a debut writer in her 60s, a debut writer in her 70s. So, it happens differently for everyone.
The Celebrants is a book about friendship. What was the spark? What was the inspiration?
Yes, it's about a group of college friends from the class of 1995. People ask me if I have my own group of college friends like that, and I'm worried not anymore after writing about them. God help you if you're related to or friends with a writer. We are sponges. We can. Yeah. Write what you know. You've heard that before. But no, there's not a one-to-one correlation with my own friend group. But I was inspired by rewatching The Big Chill during the pandemic. This movie we remember about a group of college friends coming back together. Rewatching it, I was sort of struck by how everyone was 35 years old. I'm a little bit older, so we're going to age these characters up now. But dealing with the pressures in life now in middle age was something that I was very interested in writing about.
There have been some reviewers and other readers who have said, this is a book that'll perhaps make you want to get out the phone and call an old friend whom you haven't talked to for a long time. I would think that would be very rewarding for you.
Listen, there's going to be a lot of talk between artists and writers in particular about how we're going to address the past few years that we've been through. And while I conveniently skipped the years 2019 to 2023 in this book, that's my prerogative. I'm not ready to go back there yet. I do think the theme of telling people what they mean to you while they're still here is very much a reaction to the last few years.
What are you going to do the rest of the time you're here in Maine? Anything that's on the must-do list?
Well, I'm going to get myself a lobster roll. I went straight from the library last night across the street to Red's Dairy Freeze, visiting some old haunts. But I'm just grateful to be able to have a little downtime on this tour to spend time with family and tell them how much I appreciate them.
We're so glad you were able to come in and drop by here. Stephen Rowley, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, the name of the book is The Celebrants. If you'd like to find out more about this novel and about Stephen Rowley, just head to the 207 section of our new Cinemaine website or app. And don't go away, we're going to return in just a couple of minutes.